Today is called the Sunday of Orthodoxy. It's also called, so it's the Sunday that commemorates the restoration of the icons back in like the 7th and 8th centuries. When we had that controversy. So that's the historical event that it commemorates. Obviously, today's gospel reading is a appointed gospel reading that predates this 7th and 8th centuries, because it doesn't really have much of a connection to the feast in any particular way, the historical event we're commemorating. But in the hymnography and in the icons that we have, we commemorate that event. And so the question I pose to you, or one of them here, is why would the restoration of icons, right, the reintroduction of its use into worship, when it had been banned and suppressed by certain emperors at times, why would that be called the Triumph of Orthodoxy? Right? Usually we think what? When you hear the word Orthodox, what's the standard definition, right? Orthodox definition. What is it? Right? Right belief, right? A right doctrine or right teaching, right? But the word literally means, like, that last word, doxa, right, at the end, is a Greek word which means worship. So we're the same word we get the word doxology from, right? Probably familiar with that term. And I think that's important to think about here when we're thinking about this particular feast of, well, what is something that's orthodox, right? It's chiefly right worship. And we use it to mean, right belief and stuff like that, but that's really secondary. It's really right worship, and worship is principally an action, right? It's principally an action, or the words that you're saying, not necessarily some sort of ideas or beliefs that you have, though obviously that flows out of that. And this is an important thing I want to bring out, is like when we often think of we often think this way about rules or commandments, right? That we have these rules, we think about these rules, we come up with them, we write them down, or we say them, and then our group of people follows those rules, right? Which is how we think how rules work. It's actually the opposite. Rules actually don't work that way. We all come up with rules based on what we're already doing. And in anthropology, they see this happen all the time, like in tribes and stuff like that. Like whenever a group of people sat down and sort of articulated what they want the rules to be, right? Like say Hammurabi's Code or something like that, or things. It's based off what people are already doing to some extent. Saying, what should our rules be? Well, what have we already customarily done in these situations? And then they make those rules. Because think about it. If you sat down and made a bunch of rules and no one was doing it and they were doing the opposite, how do you think people would respond to those rules? They wouldn't like them very much, right? Because they'd have to change a lot of what they're doing. Okay. So this is the point I want to make, is that rules or things like this, that our actions, right? How we act in the world precedes how we think and talk about ourselves in the world. Okay? So an example would be in the book of James. James says, you say you believe in God, even the demons believe in God, and they tremble. He's like, if you want to show me, your faith, he basically says, if you want to show me your faith, show me your good deeds. Because I will know what you believe by your works. And this is really important. And if you want to know, and this is true in any situation, right? If you want to know what someone's actual intentions are with you, do not listen to a single thing they say. Only watch what they do. And what they do will completely tell you what they're about. And this is true for our own lives. Like, we can say, we love someone all we want. We can say, we're a Christian in this way all we want. We can say this is what we believe and value in life. But if we don't act accordingly, right, we're just lying to ourselves. Or we're not really in tune with who we are. And so the point is that our actions, right, it's this tacit dimension of who we are. And how we act and behave is really a lot more important in terms of an indicator of who we are and what we're really about. And so if you want to know yourself, you want to know what you believe? Examine how you behaved in the past couple of months. That will tell you what you actually believe. And so that's why this word orthodox, this idea of right worship, right? Because it's out of this worship, it's out of our actions toward God, right? Our acts of worship, that our beliefs arise out of that. That's the ground of our belief, is this notion of worship. And worship is what? It's chiefly this, right? We think of things, oh, well, it's prayer, or maybe it's prostrations, or maybe it's singing a hymn. But it's more fundamental than that. That the very essence of worship is awe. To be in awe and in wonder of something or someone. And so we are very naturally beings who worship. It's a default setting. And so you see it all the time, you know? Like if you have a dog, your dog worships you like a god. Okay, you know, all kind of animals do this, right? If you see when we see, this is a great example. In sports, we do this. In sports, we worship athletic figures all the times. Okay, because we see someone like take figure skating, right? You know, they go out, they do this great move, and it spins in the air, or in gymnastics, right? You know, they're on the vault or something like that, and then they stick that vault into the ground, and what does everyone do immediately, right? They rise to their feet, they clap, they do all this stuff. We put them on a podium, right? We adore them, right? This is an act of worship. When we see something that's impressive and breathtaking and amazing, that puts us in awe or wonder, that how could someone be so proficient at using their body in this way? We couldn't even imagine doing it ourselves. What's the natural response we have? It's worship, right? We're in awe of something. And that's at the heart of what Orthodox means, is to be in awe of God, to have that sort of awe. And so when we think about our own prayer life and how we're worshiping, that's really what we're trying to aim at, is this sense of being in awe and in wonder, sort of just wonderstruck with God's presence and who He is, and this world that He's created that's so mysterious and wonderful. That's at the heart of it. But when we think of Orthodox, right, we often think of, well, I have all these right beliefs. I have this list of all these doctrines and teachings, and we do everything right. And this is the thing I want to really drive home, is this distinction between wanting to be right and wanting to find the truth. And they're very different things. And I think as Orthodox, partly because of our own name that we give ourselves, and partly because of the way we act towards other Christians, often in great arrogance, we often confuse what the triumph of orthodoxy is. It's not a triumph of being right. It's a triumph of finding the truth, and of truth winning out. And it is a very, very different thing. Because when you think about, we talk about worship, about awe, right? When you find truth, right? Something that's true, like you find, you know, the true about the world. You find something that's true about the way the world is, you know, or true about someone else. That's what worship's about. You know, being right and lording it over the people, or being right and being self-satisfied, does not produce that feeling, that disposition of worship, accurately speaking. And so, wanting to be right is egotistical. When we want to be right, it's all about me, me, me. It's about me feeling superior to you, because I got all the answers. And being right is always about having all the right answers. Finding the truth, seeking the truth, is more about making sure we're asking the right questions. Because those who seek truth and have found some of it know this about truth. That one, it's infinite and can never be exhausted, and there's always more you can know about it. And two, it's mysterious, which means nothing you say about it can ever be exhaustive or really grasp at it. And so the best you can do with truth is approximations, symbols, images, to get at it. That it's something that can't quite be nailed down. And that truth is not just about having all the right, you know, notions or ideas in your head about it, or just assenting and believing. It's also about participation, because this is the difference. Truth changes you. Having right opinions or being right just makes you a nasty, arrogant person. but seeking the truth and wanting to find the truth, if you actually find it, changes you. So there is a link between the moral life and finding truth. And if you haven't been transformed and changed in some way, then I dare say you probably haven't found the truth. Maybe you're right about it, right? But you haven't found the truth yet. Because the truth is personal. The truth penetrates you. It's not just something you carry around with you, like a bunch of right facts about God or about how to live or what the right way to do stuff is. And I think this is very important. I think it's important about how we see and identify ourselves, right, as Orthodox Christians, that we're not all about being right, that we're about seeking truth. Because here's the thing, truth is like this. If Brad and I always use you because you're right here, so I'm sorry. If we're in a conversation, right, and I'm just waiting for my turn to say what I want to say, and I'm not listening. Like, we've all done this, right? We've all done this, right? Where we're not actually listening to that person. We're waiting for them to shut up so we can get our witty and smart point in to that person. All right? That's not listening, right? And that's definitely not seeking truth. That's wanting to be what? Right. Seeking truth means you listen, right? Without trying to confirm all your biases and preconceived notions of what is right. That, brothers and sisters, is very, very hard to do. It goes against everything inside of us that just wants to be right and think we know everything. But truth listens. Being right tries to shut other people up. And so, but we do this all the time in our life. So part of seeking truth and part of what it means to be Orthodox is to be genuinely interested in the truth. To be genuinely interested in what is true and being open to whatever that would be. The reason people are more interested in being right is because they're insecure. This is why we do that. Now I'm bringing it down to like the everyday relationships with people, right? We have an argument, a disagreement, we want to be right against this person. Why? Why do we want to be right? And why do we not listen well and be open to the fact we might be wrong and that person might have something true to say to us? It's because we are, as human beings, profoundly insecure. We are afraid and driven by fear. Most of our actions are. And so, we want to be right. Because being right means we don't have to reevaluate anything. Being right means we never have to be embarrassed or vulnerable. Being right means we can create this illusion, right? That we have everything under control, that we know everything. But seeking truth embraces the chaos of the world that we live in. That things are ambiguous and gray, and we don't understand things, and we don't have a grip on it. And it comes to peace with that. You see, that's faith, right? That's faith. That is risk-taking. That is being open to believe, rather than trying to think we have everything ever. Because faith is inherently risk-taking. Because there's always that unknown. There's always that uncertainty. And we come to peace with that. Because one of the things I think affects a lot of religious people, but anybody who holds to some sort of ideology, I think you see this in political spheres and conversations as well, is that we are afraid. We're afraid to admit that we don't know something, because we want to be in control of everything in our lives. And to admit that we're not, can be a really scary thing. So it doesn't matter if it's religion or ideologies that people have or political beliefs. We all do this. We're always obsessed, maybe, with being right. Maybe it's because being right makes us feel better about ourselves. Maybe if we can lower somebody else, we can raise ourselves up in our own mind. But whatever it is, this notion, this distinction between seeking and finding truth and wanting to be right is not just something that applies to how we understand what it means to be Orthodox and what a triumph of Orthodoxy is. But it applies in our own individual lives and all of our relationships and all the psychology, the way our minds work. And we have the same battle and the same temptation to try to gravitate towards being right about things, which is all just about ourselves, as opposed to truth. Seeking truth means it's not about me, right? It's about something bigger, something beyond me that I'm trying to seek after. And the reason Orthodox is a triumph is because it's a triumph of truth. It's a celebration that truth wins out, and that we have this belief that, as bad as things might get, right? As many lies and deceptions there might be out there, as lost and dark we might be, in the end, truth eventually always wins out. It always wins out. And that's a core belief that we have as Orthodox Christians, that we believe in the truth and seeking the truth, and we're open to that, and we're willing to take the risks and be vulnerable to that, whether it's in our theology and our faith, or whether it's in our everyday relationships with other people. That we are more interested in the truth, because we know that the truth does what? The truth will set you free. And at first, it's really going to piss you off. And that's something you have to be prepared for. That truth hurts, right? It can really hurt. But the point is that when you have truth, you are light and free, because you are not ruled by fear, which oppresses you and keeps you down and keeps you afraid. I mean, so much of the gospel is Jesus saying what to us, to his disciples? Fear not, right? Be not afraid. He says it over and over again. I mean, it's so much, and it's brilliant. I mean, we don't realize it, but we are just enslaved by our fears, and that forces us to try to want to be right all the time, when really we should try to seek truth, which is dangerous and risky and painful, but ultimately what we need, and ultimately what we're celebrating today, is that sort of faith, right, that Peter read in the epistle, that faith of the saints of the past that sought the truth at all costs. We need to do it for ourselves, and other people around us need us to be truth seekers, the same way our forebears were. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory to